Welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Right.
We are working our way through the plagues, right? And we just had the plague of, let's see, what did we have? Look and see. Yeah, we had the boils, the plague of boils. Shechin. I tried to list all the 10 plagues here, right? So blood, locusts, uh, this is not right here. I thought I'd corrected it. Oh gosh. It's not Hoshech, it's something else. Dam Tzvadeya, but there's something with, and I'm just blocking on it now. Hmm. What was it? For heaven's sake, now I can't remember. That's
Trying to find
fine.
a. We need to
What's
find a
that?
Haggadah.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You won't have to. I'll look and see. Da 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 da. Arov. Yeah. Come on. Where is the Arov? Is that?
I looked it up on Facebook and you're on verse 14.
Yeah, no, I'm in the right. Oh, okay. Let me look back and let's see. Oh, come on. Why can't I remember it? Uh, oh, come on. There's, oh my heavens, the Arabs all there still. Huh? Huh? Going on. There's the play. That's the frogs. And so we're right in here. Keenim, there we are. That's it. Con Shame on me, I couldn't remember it. Keenim are lice. Fun, huh? See if I can get up here. Get it to change. And I thought I had corrected it, but apparently, okay, so there we are, right in there. And there. And there. Let's see. Here we go. Let's go here. Okay. Here we are. And let's see if that's correct. Yeah. Yay. There we are. All
Can you
right.
tell me who necromancer is?
Yes. I think it is someone. Okay. So remember, necro means dead. So necromancer is someone who consults the dead, like a medium. That would be a necromancer. Like a necropolis is a
Okay.
city of the dead. That's
Okay.
yeah, necro, and
Necro means dead.
necrophilia would be someone who's has a fear of death. Okay. So anyway, Arov, the that is the that's the various types of wild beasts. Dever is pestilence, cattle plague. Shchin is what we're on here, or we just did, which was the boils. And we're on to Barad, which is the hail, right? So we're into the last four plagues. There we go.
I think I need to correct you a
Go on,
little.
please, and feel
You
free.
said you said necrophilia means you fear it, but it
Don't
means you
you?
love it.
Oh, you're right. Oh,
Fearing is necrophobia.
necrophobia. You know something? I count on people like you, Bart. Thank you. Of course. Necrophilia would be somebody who loves death. You're right, of course. Necrophobia is what I meant. Thank you so much. Oh, what it says. So, scholars, be heedful of your words because you can take people to the wrong place. Okay. All right. So, I'll make sure I have the right place. Okay. Yeah, we're right here. Okay. So we're moving on. Ki b'fam hazot, right? This is God. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. God is speaking to Moses, right? And this is what you shall say to Pharaoh. So God is telling Moses the words that he is to speak to Pharaoh. So it goes on, right? Shalach et ami v'ya'avduni. Let my people go that they may serve me. Uh-huh. Kiva fam hazot, because this time, or in it doesn't mean this very next time, but it means within the future, right? In the future, ani sholech et kol magefotai, I will send forth all my plagues, el livcha, into you, to you personally, to your heart, literally it means, right? Uva avadecha, and amongst your servants, uva amecha, and amongst your people. Ba'avur. Now, this is very important. This is an important phrase here. Ba'avur, in order that, teda, you shall know, ki ein kamoni b'chol haaretz, that there is none like me in the entire land. So, the idea that the plagues having to be sadly, right, a very negative way to demonstrate to people God's ultimate power and to put us in our place and let us understand who really is in charge. And wow, what an interesting concept. Okay, well, let's take a look at what Rashi says here, right? Okay, let's got the right place. Let me see. Et kol magefotai, right? All my magefot, all my plagues. Negef, right? We have the term even negef, which means a stumbling block, right? Things that clearly are issues of adversity, right? Things that where life is not a smooth progression, but that you're going to stumble, right? So all my plagues. Lamadnu mikan, Rashi says, we learn from this, we can infer from this, shemakat pechorot, that the plague of the death of the firstborn, shkula, is equal to keneged kol hamakot. It is equal to all the other plagues. So this plague here, so as our tradition understands it, right? That when even though there are going to be three more plagues before the plague of right before the plague of the death of the firstborn, nevertheless, that is what God is telling Moses to tell Pharaoh, that while he isn't telling him necessarily that he told him already that he would take his firstborn son. He told him that at the outset, right? But that is going to complete everything. Going on. Ki ata shalachti et yadi. So the syntax is interesting here. It's not simple at all. But what it means is for now, the ata with an ayin means now. Shalachti et yadi. It means I could have sent my power. I could have displayed all my power. Va'ach et otcha ve'et amcha badaver, right? And only you and your people, badaver, with the cattle plague, dever, but tichached, and you would have been wiped out. Tichached. Excuse me, just get into here. Min haaretz, you would have been wiped out from the land. Aval ba'avur zut emadaticha. But on account of this, I have kept you alive. Basically, I have sustained you so that you can realize this. So, you can reflect a little bit on what the Torah is trying to teach us as human beings here. This awareness of the ultimate divine presence in the world, and that it's for us to acknowledge it. That's why that prayer at the end of our services goes Aleinu. It is our duty. It is upon us, right, to recognize the ultimate purpose for what we've been created. Right. So here we go. Yes. We've got all of this. Let's take a look. Ki atashach. So Rashi is very helpful here, right? In terms of trying to make sense of the Hebrew here. Ki atashalachti et yadi. Right, he's quoting these words right here. Right. Ki ilu ratziti. If I desire, this God speaking, right? Had I desired, keshahaita yadi b'miknecha, that when I was demonstrating my power, right? Hand is a metaphor for control and power, right? B'miknecha, in your cattle, she hikitim bedever, when I smote them with pestilence, shelachtiha vehikitia otach, right? Let's make sure I'm reading this right. Vehikiti otach vetamcha. I believe he's saying, I could have chosen to send it, I think would be that is this pestilence. Vehikiti otcha vetamcha. I could have slain you and your people, im habehemot, together with the cattle, but tichached, and you could have been exterminated, you could have been removed, min haaretz, from the land. Aval ba'avor zet hamadaticha, but on account of this, I have sustained you. I've let you stay alive. So. Yep, some really challenging words here. Here we go. It goes again. Right, the connection here. For ulam, however, ba'avur zot, on account of this, madaticha, I have sustained you. I've allowed you to endure. Ba'avur, in order, her iticha et kochi, that I can display to you my power. Ulaman saper shmi b'chol haaretz, and so that my name will be recounted throughout the land.
So on account of what was he talking about? What's the antecedent?
The antecedent is the fact that when he originally had sent the plague of pestilence, right, which wiped out all the cattle, he could have added that to human. He could have added human beings. He could have added Pharaoh and his nation to that particular plague. Am I answering?
Aren't they going to starve anyway if you lose all your cattle?
Not necessarily, because as Rashi mentions, there were people who took their cattle. He says cattle in the fields, meaning, of course, that he already read that there were people who took the cattle and brought them
Put it in the
into their
barn.
sheds. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no, truly, Bart, appreciate your questions. All right, let's go on. No Rashi on this. Odcha mistolel ba'ami, right? If you continue it, as long as you continue to exalt yourself over my people, or we'll see, I'm basing that translation on Rashi, as we'll see, right? Safaria translates it as thwart, as long as you thwart my people. And it's not a bad translation, as you will see. The vilti shalcham, to not send them, to not let them go free, right? So we're going to see, and this, of course, introduces the next plague. Orcha mistolel ba'ami. So Rashi picks up this word mistolel. It's not a common word, and it's of course the context tells us some sense of what it's about, but he wants us to have a little bit of a more precise understanding of this word. And he says ketargumo. He says according just what you want to do is check out the Targum, right? Let's find out here. Ad ka'an at kveishat be. Kveishat is the word that Onkelos is translating mistolel as kveishat be ba'ami. So kveishat be. Let's take a look at what he says. Okay. Kveishat be. In other words, to tread down, right? To subjugate. Ba'ami, my people. And again, notice how God is talking about the Israelites as being his people, right? That the relationship that the Israelites have with God is a very close relationship that was established by Abraham, Isaac, and ultimately Jacob, right? This relationship that they have. Vehi migzeirat mesila, right? He says that it's from a word that's related to the, right, mistolel, right? That mesilah is a track or like a road, right? De metargaminan, which has been translated in Aramaic as orach kavisha. There's this word kavisha, right? A trodden path. A masilah is a track. The point is that to make that track, you have to overcome, you have to push down, right? Down stuff that was part of that field or that road or that area beforehand in order to make a track. Uvelas, and he says in French, and essentially is what he's saying. This is a French word. I'm not sure exactly what the word is. Calque. But here in this particular edition, he writes in the Yiddish, right? And treten means to walk, right? To tread down, because very often, paths are made by walking along a certain route constantly, and eventually, of course, the grass there starts to be unable to grow and unable to sprout, and you make a path. Ukvar pirashti. Now he goes on to another thing, because this word mistolel. Okay. So before I go on with the Rashi, let's just take a look at the word a little bit yourself. So the root of the word is salal, right? It could also possibly be solel. Sorry, soul, right? Hebrew is based, for the most part, the verbs are triliteral roots. But this is a form of the verb, which means to exalt yourself. This is called a hitpalel, right? Or hitpael form of the verb, which is the reflexive form of the verb. And notice I said hitpael, but here the first letter of the root precedes the utility letter for the hit, right? Or the mit. And that's what Rashi is going to tell us, right? That when the first letter is a samach, that's this letter here, and it goes into this particular form of the verb, the two letters interchange to make it more possible to pronounce. And that's what he's going to tell us right now, right? Ukvar perashti, and I already explained, Rashi says, Besof vahimikates, at the end of Parsha vahimikates, that's the Parsha that occurs in the middle of the Joseph story, right? Kol teva, any word, she tchilat yisoda, that the first letter of its, he calls it yisod, of its root, samach is the letter samach, vehi ba'a ledaber beleshon mitpa'al, and you wanted to express the idea of the reflexive form, mitpa'el, to work on yourself, right, to do something to yourself. Noten hatav shel shimush, the letter tav, that is part of the utility, it's a utility letter in the word to tell you what form it is. The emsa, it comes in the middle, otiyot shel ikar, it comes in the middle of the root letters. Kagonzo, like this one right here. Ukagon, and he now gives us a bunch of other examples. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, which I believe is the last chapter, Vayistabel hachagav, and the locust drags itself heavily, right? Migzerat saval, that's the root. The root is saval, and we notice it says Vayistabel, right? Which means to bear a burden. And it's cute because a porter is called a saval, somebody who has to carry a heavy burden. And the word lisbol, right, means also to endure a heavy emotional burden as well. And he gives other examples. Bamidbar Tetzain, that's the book of Numbers, chapter 16. Ki tishtarer alenu, right? This has got to do, I think, with the rebellion of Korach, where they're saying to Moses, "Do you have a right to lord it over us?" Migzerat sar v'nagid, right? So he takes the noun. Sar is, so it's tistarer. Sar is a ruler. Nagid is a lord, Nagid, right? So that to rule yourself over us, to lord it over us. In Daniel chapter 7, looks like Daniel Zayin Chet, I think he's talking about chapter 7 and 8 maybe. Mistakel Havit, right? This is in this case an Aramaism or Aramaic. I was considering. Right, I was considering from sechel. Interesting, because this is a sin and not a samach, but again, because it's a s sound, the s and the ta interchange. Okay, going back here. Hineni mamtir ba'et machar. I am going to rain down at this time tomorrow. Barad kaved me'od, a very heavy hail. Asher lo haya kamohu b'Mitzrayim, which never was experienced in Egypt, lemin hayom hivasta, from the day that it was founded, va'ad ata, until now. This is a historic first in terms of the level of hail that's going to form. So that is, of course, the next plague. Let's take a look. Find the place.
They weren't experiencing climate change, were they?
Yeah, briefly anyway, right? A little bit. So the point was, he says, at this time tomorrow. So Rashi wants us to understand better what exactly was going on there. Ka'et hazot, meaning as of this time, lamachar, tomorrow. And how did they figure that? Okay, so Sarat lo strita. So Moses drew a line, bakotel, in the wall. The machar, that is tomorrow, keshehigia chama lakan, when the sun, right, it's like a sundial, right? When the sun arrives at this place, Yered Habarad, the hail is going to form. And now another grammatical explanation coming. Hivasta. Again, these are sort of unusual forms of the word, and that's why Rashi feels a need to help us understand it. Shenit yasta. So another way of putting it, right? So it's passive, was formed, was founded. And here's the nitpa'el form, right? That it was founded. V'chol teva, and so it just gives another form of this particular word that would be easier to understand. V'chol teva, and he says every word, shetchilat yesoda yud, when the first letter of the root is a yud, a ya sound, kagon yasad, yasad, to found, right? Yalad is to give birth. Yada, to know. Yasar, to punish. Keshehu mitpa'elet, right? Again, when it takes on this reflexive form, mitpa'elet teva havav bimkom hayud. We replace the yud with a vav. Kamo hivasta, so just like the example we have here, then it says hivalda, when she gave birth, right? Veyivada, right? He understood, he realized. Vayivaled, it was born leYosef, to Joseph. So back in that last chapter of last Parsha of Genesis, it talks about the birth of Joseph's two sons, and it says Vayivaled, were born to Joseph, right? And an example from Proverbs 29, Bedvarim lo, and this must be Yivaser Eved, right? That a a servant, a slave, cannot be corrected by words alone. That is not going to change his behavior. Okay. Onwards, just a little bit more. Okay, so we said this. V'ata, and now, shlach ha'es et miknecha. He says, now, go send to gather in your cattle. Ve'et kol asher lacha basadeh, and everything that you own in the fields, in the open fields. Kol ha'adam v'ha'beima, right? Any human being or cattle, asher yimatzeh basadeh, which is found in the field, v'lo ye'esayf habayta, and is not gathered into the house, v'yarad aleihem habarad v'metu. The hail will fall upon them and they will die. I think there is no, here it is. Shalach ha'ez. So the question again, these words that are not common and are a little bit different. Okay, and again, ha'ez means to gather. But oz very often has to do with strength, okay? But he says ketargumo, we follow the Targum's translation, shlach kanos, right? Send a message, right? And gather. In Aramaic, the word is clear. So, v'chein, and likewise in Isaiah 10, Yoshvei Hagavim, Heizu, right? So I think this is those who dwell, I think, on the heights, right? Gather. He'ezu b'nei Binyamin, right? So it means children of Benjamin gather from Jeremiah. V'lo yasef habaita, and who does not gather, doesn't come back into the house. Lashon hachnasahi, right? So this yasef has to do with coming in, bringing in. This has the meaning of bringing in. V'hayare et dvar Hashem, those who feared, or in other words, took seriously the word of the Lord, me avdei Paro, amongst the servants of Pharaoh, heinis et avadav ve'miknehu, right? They caused to flee their servants and their cattle, el habatim, into the homes, into the houses. Let's see, here we go. Heinis. Hivriach lashon vayanos. He says, or vayanas. That's hivriach. That's from a type of the form of a verb that is causative. In other words, parach is the word to flee. Hivriach is to cause someone to flee. And he says this has the meaning of vayanas. He fled. He fled. I think that is all the Rashi on this. Let me double check. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Okay. V'asher lo sam libo, but people who did not place their hearts, in other words, they didn't pay attention. Right? That's the word that means to pay attention. El dvar Hashem, to the word of Hashem. Vayazov et avadav ve'et miknehu basadeh. They simply left their servants and their cattle in the field. And I think that is, let's see, make sure. Yep, that is it for today. So I'm going to mark the spot before I stop the share. And then this will, next time we meet, this is where we're going to be. So, okay. All right. Any comments for the record? Any thoughts? Any comments? All right. We will let it go for this for now.